With New Year greetings, here we are in Investors Hangout, brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. New Year 2018. It is that time of the year when we start thinking about whether we have invested enough in tax savings. Have we done the right thing or not? What should we be doing if we have not invested? Only roughly about 3 months left. To answer all your queries, where you should invest and where you should not invest, with me is Dhirendra Kumar, CEO of Value Research. Dhirendra, welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Rajesh Lake, and we kickstart our discussion on the investors' point of view that there are only roughly about 3 months left. What should they be doing during this time to save their tax?
You don't have to do much. You have to do some basic calculation that tax saved is money earned. So you should try and save as much as possible. And you have the framework is pretty straightforward. There is a section 80C under which you can invest 1.5 lakh rupees, and that 1.5 lakh rupee is deducted from your income for computing taxes.
Okay.
So if you make 10 lakh rupee and make this 1.5 lakh rupee investment, and there are a number of eligible investment. So if you earn 10 lakh rupees and make this 1.5 lakh rupees investment, your income for taxation purpose will be calculated as 8.5 lakh rupees.
Okay.
So so many a times you simply save on the tax. You also get lower in the lower tax bracket by virtue of, if you are falling in that 30% tax bracket by virtue of making this investment, you might fall into a lower tax bracket. So it can actually substantially reduce your tax bill. Anybody in the 30% tax bracket making this investment, even if it does not get lowered, his tax slab, still he will be saving. You will be saving about 45,000 rupees in a year on account of tax. The calculation which you have to do is, see all the provident fund contribution that you have made, or any other insurance premium that you have paid. Deduct that money from, or employee provident fund, your employees. So all the money that has gone in, deduct that money from 1.5 lakh rupees. Remaining money, just put it together somehow. Need be borrow and invest that money, because you'll be able to save the tax on try and avail this 1.5 lakh rupees entitlement which you get on account of ATC to the hilt.
Okay.
Don't let it pass.
Okay. What about any other way in which we can save tax? This all is done. Is there any way that we can save tax?
Yes, you have additional thing that 15,000 rupees. Of course, what you can do is do all this calculation. This 1.5 lakh rupee is one aspect. Then additional 50,000 rupee investment can be made in NPS, and that will also get you a tax break, additional tax break. But I would say that it is avoidable, because right now the structure of NPS is such that the cost of not making that investment will translate into something like 15,000 rupees taxes. And if you invest that money in equity, because NPS is not all equity, so the potential of ELSS is that the tax saving fund which you should be investing in. The promise is that it's the only tax saving investment option which is all equity. All other options are either fixed income or hybrids. The ULIPs, the insurance linked unit linked insurance plans, or the PPF, NSC, or the 5-year bank deposit. They are all fixed income. They will give you a guaranteed return. There is no upside, and even the return that you will get will be taxable. In this case, what happens is the money that you invest today will get you the tax break. The return that you will get will also be completely tax free. PPF is the only comparable fixed income which is where the income is also tax free. So that is one. Apart from this, you can make 15,000 rupee investment. If you are spending up to 15,000 rupees on account of health insurance, the Mediclaim, that is also an eligible deductible.
So this is over and above 1.5 that you have to. Okay. You mentioned about what one should be doing. Are there any don'ts also involved?
Yes, there are don'ts. Most people start their tax saving investment with a ULIP, with an insurance-linked, investment plan.
Easiest for them,
easiest.
Because they advertise so much. And
they advertise so much. There is an incentive system for the for a set of people to hawk it, and the lack of lack of understanding about the investments in general and or personal finance in general, that actually forces, and that translates into a long-term commitment, because whenever you buy a ULIP or whenever you buy an insurance plan, insurance-linked investment plan, you are told that okay, for 15 years, for 20 years you have to put this much or some policy, and you will not be able to figure out that what exactly are you getting, how is your investment doing, and what is the insurance privilege that you have. So what is the risk cover that you have, and in the absence of that, you are very vaguely investing in something, and after a long period of time, after a long period of regular sustained investment, you realize that it has not worked out nicely.
Right.
So don't invest in ULIP. Buy a term insurance. And even the premium paid for term insurance is also eligible. ATC entitles you to that, but that is not an investment. It is an expense. Don't buy ULIP. Also, don't consider. A lot of people think that they have to be risk averse, or they are risk averse. Or India has been a fixed income country. So the belief in PPF or the belief in National Savings Certificate or a 5-year deposit, it looks safe, but it is actually not safe, because you may not be able to beat inflation. Okay. And when you are getting stuck, because all tax saving investment comes with a lock-in, it's not a liquid investment. So when you are getting locked in, the advantage of making investment in a market linked investment is that if you are able to average it, invest for the long run. So these are the essential variables which you have to comply with anyway. So why not go for equity and optimize your return, or maybe maximize your return? For many people, if this should be your first stop, if you can't save any more money than the essential ATC investment, and if you are able to do that 1.5 lakh rupee investment year after year for 10-15 years, I'm of the view that for somebody who is barely able to save as much, will be able to build a sizable retirement corpus if one is disciplined. Because if you keep doing this, and if you are able to generate twice as much as over a period of time as compared to the PPF, it will translate into something very substantial, and it will fulfill your goals.
Okay, what about actually for all of us, why get into this panic mode towards the end of the financial year? There is advice which Dhirendra is giving you, which includes SIP, I think.
Yes, one should be regular with one's investment. It fits in with your income cycle. We earn every month, why not save every month? And it will also leave you, but it's a psychology. I think we always wait for the deadline. Many a times it happens in March. I myself, in my early stages of my career for 10 years, when I look at my tax saving investments, they were made on 28th March or 27th March or sometimes 31st March, and it was possible to do that earlier, no longer. So planning a little bit will be better, and it will just it will be in line with your income cycle. But more importantly, I don't think at this point, as we are in the first quarter and we are 3 months away from the deadline, it's better that you make 1 or 2 investment and don't do your SIP for this year. Subsequent year, April onward, be methodical about it. If you have to avail 1.5 lakh rupees, maybe do your 12,500 rupees SIP in a tax saving fund, and it will be done.
Okay. So in nutshell, what Dhirendra is saying is that figure out the EPF contribution from your monthly salary and deduct the rupees 1.5 lakh limit. And second, he's talking about deduct any life insurance premium that you have to pay. And the third thing you're talking about is the home loan principle.
Home loan principles. That is also a deductible, tax deductible expense.
So after all that, you could also get into term plan. And of course, from April 2018 to March 2019, he's strongly recommending that we get into SIPs so that we don't get this pressure on us towards the end of the year. Right, Dhiren?
Yes. Be methodical about it.
Exactly. So this is what his advice is, and we thank you for throwing light on how we should be saving for our tax saving investments. We get into the question answers at this point in time, when these are the questions that you have sent us. Ajay has written to us. What are your tax saving recommendations for a senior citizen of the age of 70? Do women and housewives get any additional tax benefit?
My recommendation, my suggestion for any 70-year-old is not dependent on him being 70-year-old. If you have to invest to save tax, which means you have enough income so that you have to worry about saving taxes, it depends. If you are completely risk averse, then consider anything else. But I would still urge that if you are investing and your money will get locked in, even a tax saving fund is not bad. It will translate, and if all your savings and investment is going to be is going to be a state to be passed on, then tax saving funds will turn out to be best. For risk averse investors, maybe they should consider, if you have any other alternative, the 5-year deposit, that's the simplest thing. Closest bank will be able to offer you. No, there is no special benefit for house and women housewives. But there is another classification in our tax system, which is super senior citizens or something like that. But that is after crossing, I think, after crossing 75 years of age.
Okay. Amit has written in saying, how safe is investing in government securities, as I'm investing 20% of total portfolio via NPS in them. The returns are volatile and poor so far.
Yes, yes, it is volatile and the returns are poor. And over a long period of time, the kind of investment that you make in NPS, the return on government security will be very much in line with the fund manager tries to optimize his return by making a portfolio which tries to benefit from a rate cut or be in a different kind of securities, short maturity securities if the interest rates are going to go up. And everybody has been caught on the wrong foot. Even the long-term debt funds, government securities fund, mutual funds have been disappointing so far this year. But I think if you look at 4 or 5 years, this is where you have to understand that this is basically a stability providing component of your portfolio. When you invest in a bond, the returns might be disappointing, but they never go down substantially. They don't crumble like equity that they are down 30%, 20% in a brief period of time. The worst case scenario is that, okay, this year the return is 2%, not 10%. And that is also in an extraordinary situation where, interest rates was expected to move in a certain way. Fund managers took a call and it did not work out that way. So, look at it as stability providing component of your portfolio. Don't look at it as maximizing return. Okay. Government securities are absolutely safe. They are only vulnerable to interest rate changes that actually affects the price of those bonds.
Okay. Muthu Krishnan has written, he says, if I invest in my money in mutual funds in my wife's name, is it taxable in my name or hers? We both are taxpayers, he further writes, and she in fact is in the lower tax bracket.
Depends. One is that if you are actually investing in your wife's name, it will the first holder of the investment, it will be considered, my understanding is that it will be considered as a gift to your wife, and investment on all the obligations will be hers. But depends, if you are investing in an equity fund and which will be held for over 1 year, there is no tax incidence. You are not liable to pay any taxes. If you invest in a debt fund and redeem your investment before 3 years, then whatever be the gain, it will be added to your income. So she will be liable for those taxes.
Okay. Piyush has written in, how should I go about my tax planning and investing from the month of April itself to avoid last minute rush? If you've been hearing our program, you'll know what we've been talking about. Nonetheless, Dhirendra, if you would like to address this.
Yeah, start your SIP, 12,500 rupees if you have to invest 1.5 lakh rupees through the year, and choose one fund, be at it, and make sure that all the checks get honored, for the SIP.
Okay. Dilip has written in, is NPS a useful tax saving instrument for long term?
NPS is good, but not the excellent, as a tax saving instrument. If you are looking for that additional, if you are if you think that tax break is crucial, but I think that additional 50,000 rupee break that you get on on NPS may not be worthwhile if you're a disciplined investor. If you invest 50,000 rupees, look at two scenarios. One is that you invest in NPS and you get that additional 50,000 rupee advantage. So you'll be saving 15,000 rupees of taxes a year. Compare that with investing 35,000 rupees and you pay 15,000 rupees by way of taxes, and this 15,000 rupee can be invested in an equity fund. This 35,000 rupee can be invested in an equity fund. 35,000 rupees invested in an all equity fund over a 15 to 20 year time period, for which you actually make the NPS investment. That will yield you superior return over this period. It will also be completely tax free. So 35,000 rupees in an equity fund, 50,000 rupees in NPS with tax break, the equity fund still looks better.
Right. And this, if we invest in NPS, then 1,50,000, apart from this, we can still continue to do.
Yeah, that 1.5 lakh rupees, this is the additional benefit available for NPS.
Okay.
Extra 50,000 rupees for NPS.
Okay. KK Kohli has written in, if parents invest in funds in the name of a newborn, will the money remain locked in for 18 years, or can it be redeemed earlier in case the parents decide to switch to a better fund?
You can switch your investments to better fund. The only thing is that all the tax liability till the child attains majority, all the obligations, tax obligations will be yours.
Okay. Nishit Soni writes, I'm a beginner in the world of investing. Which policy or mutual fund should I invest in for a short period of time? In fact, it will be nice if we can tell some of our viewers as to the steps they should go into if they're the new investors, just the way Nishit is. So what should they be doing? One could be the tax saving thing that you talked about, which is very clear, 12,500 per month, do it for 12 months and you have 1,50,000 taken care of. What about people like Nishit, who is asking about how should they choose a mutual fund, how should they go about investing?
It actually works like this, you have to really decide. Nishit's question is that, he wants to invest for the short term. This is crucial because the money for your long term, money for 5 years and more, and money which you are likely to need anytime. So short term investments can only be in either fixed income because the likelihood of going down or not going right with the market. So you have to make sure that your very short term investments, the money which you are likely to need in few months or 1 or 2 years, should always be invested in fixed income funds, bond funds. Money for 3 to 5 years, maybe you can consider hybrids. The equity income fund, which has a small equity component, but then the money is also for 3 to 5 years. You are unlikely to get a disappointing surprise there. And money for many years should be invested in the long run. Then comes, what is the starting point? If you are a first time investor and paying and likely to pay taxes, start with your tax saving fund.
Right.
If you are not going to be paying taxes, if you are not going to, if you are not a taxpayer, start with a balanced fund.
Okay.
Because that actually helps you navigate, understand the nuances of the market. A market-linked investment provides you a stability and still reasonable growth. So do that for first 2-3 years. So short-term investments, put your money in a bond fund.
Okay.
Long-term investment, taxpayer, start with a tax-saving fund. Else, start with a balanced fund. These are the 3 steps. This is the basic thing which everybody should follow.
And to get more knowledge, you continue to see our program Investors Hangout. Alternately, you could also get to our website, the Value Research website. Did anyone want to tell him more about that?
Yes, Value Research Online actually provides you ample avenues, helps you learn about things, make choices, provides you all the information for you to, we do 2-3 things. One is that, we empower all our readers, all our visitors with very elaborate information for you to make decisions yourself. Then comes, we help you track things. The portfolio manager at Value Research helps you track things that how your investments are doing. You need to do some changes. Are you on the right track? Because we invest and forget. So help you choose and help you track. Come to Value Research, and then you can read a lot of stuff that we have, all the content, all the stories, all the articles that we have written over last 20 years. is all available for you to read, to understand and learn things yourself.
So Nishit, it could be the first step towards investing. Apurva Narayan has written in, what should I do if the government removes the LTCG exemption on equity investment?
Do nothing, because we can't do much if government decides to do that. And we have had such example in the past that once 3 years back the tax treatment of bond fund was changed, and it was changed in a manner where investors got a surprise. Earlier you had to hold fixed income funds just for 1 year to be eligible as long-term capital gains. It was changed to 3 years, and it was done exactly on the day. It was not, most budget proposals come with a rider that it will be effective 1st of April. There was no grandfathering of the investment, so it became effective then only. So if you had invested in a bond fund with an understanding that if I'll have to hold it for 1 year and then all the returns will be tax free, or will be eligible for capital gains treatment, you had to hold it for another 2 years, even because the rule was changed abruptly. So but I think in this case it is unlikely to be that abrupt, and so do nothing. And if long-term capital gains comes about, then it will provide you with the indexation. Anyway, mutual fund investors will still, it will be little, of course it will be little disadvantageous for those people who trade more often, because every time you book a gain and you will be liable for paying those taxes, so that will reduce your capital. But if the rule changes, we have to live with it.
Okay. We move on to our next question, and Preeti Singh Sisodia has written in saying that, can I invest in lump sum in equity income funds as it is tax efficient and treated like equity funds? Is it as safe as debt fund?
No, it is not as safe as debt fund, but it is far safer than any equity fund. Equity income funds are typically 35% equity, 35% arbitrage position, which is almost like fixed income. It is almost like liquid fund, because those positions are, a fund manager buys the share, at the same time sells the same shares in the futures market. So he is actually not exposed to the equity risk at all for another third of his investment. And another third is fixed income, and it is treated like equity. The tax treatment is like equity, because these arbitrage position technically is equity, but by character it is fixed income. So that is why this, and so it is a tax glitch in a sense. It's a trick, and a legitimate one. It qualifies in a convenient as a very tax efficient way of investing in low risk, but it is not as safe as a debt fund, because this you have exposure of nearly a 35% to equity. Then comes how risky it is. It is not very risky. If you are holding for 3 to 5 years, and if you are a risk averse person, also wants to optimize the return, and you want it to be tax efficient, it's an excellent way of investing. And you can well invest lump sum, because generally you should average your investments, anything which has to do with anything to do with equity. But this is something where only a third of your money will be exposed to equity. So if you have 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupee, it can well be invested.
Next question is from Ramya Sri, and Ramya asks if it is good to invest in ELSS through SIP. I'm asking because each installment will get locked in for 3 years.
Yes, whether you make one-time investment or if you actually take a view of many years, the mandatory lock-in period is 3 years. But I think when investing in equity, you should be thinking of 5-year, 10-year. And if this is the only investment that you are somehow able to make, then you should make sure that you are investing for 20 years, and it should translate into something. It should translate into a sizable retirement corpus for you. And the tax break only forces you to make this investment every year. So look at it that way. Lock-in of 3 years, which will keep expiring every month. I think the convenience of being able to invest every month, the money being at work every month, being put to work at every month, that I think will more than offset all the inconvenience. Because once your investments become 5 year and more older, this lock-in will become meaningless, because only the previous 12 months, when you are doing it for many years,
Right.
only the previous 3 years investment will be locked in. Rest of it will be free from lock-in.
Okay. Dhananjayan has written in, I have a lump sum amount from a sale of property. Is it the right time to enter income funds or keep it in FDs?
Consider the less volatile income funds,
Okay.
the short-term bond fund or the ultra short-term bond fund. They will be able to provide you the return, better return than FD. It will also be tax efficient if somehow you happen to hold that investment for 3 years and more.
Okay. Bharat Kumar has written in saying how to select the best tax saving funds for different age groups such as 35 to 45, 55 to 60 and above 60. Is it something like that?
No, don't over-engineer this. I would say that most tax-saving funds can actually be classified into aggressive ones and not so aggressive ones. But they are all equity. All tax-saving funds are fully invested in equity. I would say that there are set of funds which are largely invested in large cap stocks or the multi caps. They are multi cap funds, and there are funds which are little more venturesome. They invest in smaller companies. They try and maximize return. And I would say that when investing in a tax saving fund and you are getting locked in for 3 years, get aggressive, maximize your return.
Correct.
Think for don't think of 3 years lock in. Think of 5 years and more, and that is how anybody should be looking at equity anyway. So take a 5-year view, get aggressive with your tax saving investment, and don't look at the values in the interim. And if you are averaging your investments, if you are doing your SIP every month, it will translate into superior return, because you will be buying on dips as well. Averaging on a volatile asset translates into superior, because volatility isn't risk. It's just that it will scare you in the interim. Don't look at it, be at it.
Okay. Next question is from Bala Subramaniam. What are the parameters involved in choosing a tax saving fund? Is investing in PPF going to be the thing of the past soon?
I don't know whether investing in PPF is going to be a thing of past, but yes, smart investors will not consider smart investors should not be investing in PPF. It is safe. It has a history, it has a legacy, it has been there for generations, and it also gets you tax free income, but nothing beyond that. It is not a maximizing thing, it's a recurring deposit, fixed income yielding recurring deposit which gives you a tax free income, nothing beyond that. It is absolutely safe because it's run by Government of India, but if you have tasted equity funds and been regular with it, anybody will just simply look at the numbers. You earn substantially more than what you earn from the PPF.
Okay.
So, and how to go about choosing a tax saving fund? Same as you choose any equity fund. The fund manager has a principle. It is a high quality fund. It has a long track record. Look at our ratings, which actually reflects the performance of a fund on a risk adjusted basis, which means the kind of risk it has assumed and how much it has compensated for.
Can I blindfoldedly go by the ratings that you give?
Yeah, but even there you will have to make a choice, because there will be many 5-star funds or many 4-star funds. So I would say that choose from our selection of 5 and 4-star rated tax saving funds, and that should be good enough. I think the more critical thing is being regular and having this long term orientation.
Okay. The last question, Mohit Garg, he says, I'm a doctor. I can invest 3 to 4 lakhs per month for 15 to 20 years. Can I invest via SIPs only in mid and small cap funds? Sure.
No? Yes, absolutely. Just make sure that you will be comfortable. Look at the past of these mid and small cap funds. Look at what happens to these funds and in the worst of times, and will you still be okay? But investing for 15 to 20 years, they should turn out to be substantially more rewarding. Mutual funds, the small and mid cap funds, they actually deliver substantial value, because doing it yourself as compared to a fund manager doing it. Also, this is a category of fund where you will have to be a little more active. You can't choose a fund and be at it for next 20 years. You have to review your selection every 2-3 years, and 2-3 years is not much, not too much of hard work. Make your choices, start your SIP, review your investment every 2-3 years, because things might change. The fund manager might go away, the performance or the fund just might turn big for it, which becomes an impediment to its performance.
Okay, I think we do have time for one last question, and this is from Arijit Chatterjee. I want to invest in mutual funds in my wife's name, who is a housewife. Will there be a tax burden which will affect her? Will she land in some legal trouble as a housewife?
No legal trouble, and you know, you can actually escape all the taxes because if you invest in a mutual fund, the best thing is that till you redeem that investment, you are not liable for any taxes, whether it be a fixed income fund or equity fund. If you have invested in an equity fund and held it for 1 year and more, then you are not liable for any taxes anyway. All the returns from equity
even
fund
at the time of redemption.
Even at the time of redemption. So even if it is in your name, it doesn't matter. This will be looked upon as your gift to your wife, and if her income from a bond fund, from a fixed income fund, only if she invests and redeems within 1 year or within 3 years, that it will be treated as her income. And if that income is going to be less than the threshold taxable limits, then she is not liable to pay any taxes.
Okay. Well, that's all we have in today's program. Hope you learned about where to invest and where not to invest. Till we meet next time, I, Rajesh Lake, along with Rendra Kumar, say goodbye to you. Keep investing.